A race to Everest. Hidden expedition team battles rivals and climb to the summit. The Hidden Expedition Team, fresh from a successful exploration of the Titanic, the Hidden Expedition Club will pit one of its stellar members against a formidable group of opponents in a race to the summit of Everest. In other news, a mysterious, delirious, and delusional mountain climber who claimed to have found a secret passageway through Mount Everest has disappeared from Kathmandu. And our rival teams, the Scholars, who know everything there is to know about Everest and more. Their superior brainpower has guided them on many a cerebral quest. Though they haven't left the archives in more than 18 years, they will rely on their intellectual prowess to get them to the summit before the others. The Scarlet Hat League. They are world famous for their bake sales, bingo game charities, and library book sales. They have read many books and articles about Everest. They think it would be just so much fun to climb to the summit. And finally, the Gamers. Having conquered Everest hundreds of times in video games, the Gamers feel they are ready to try the real thing. Though they lack social skills due to the inordinate amount of time spent staring at a screen, they're used to getting what they want, and they won Everest. I wonder if that's a subtle jab at the person playing this game, that they spend too long in front of a screen. But anyway, hello and welcome to Let's Play Hidden Expedition Everest. I'm MCFPapa and this is part 1. And now, unlike Hidden Expedition Titanic, which I played heavily as a kid, and Hidden Expedition Amazon, which I also played heavily as a kid, for some reason we never got Hidden Expedition Everest. I don't know if it just skipped us by and we didn't notice that it had come out, or what the explanation is, but because I loved the other two games, but I never got to play this until like 2015 was the first time I played this game. And it's a shame, because if I had played it when I was a kid, I think I would have played it even more heavily than I played Titanic and Amazon. Also, in this game is Ed Viester's photo album. Unlock Ed Viester's real-life mountain climbing adventures each time you complete a zone. Finish a zone in first place to unlock extra adventures. Washington resident Ed Viesters is widely regarded as this country's foremost high-altitude mountaineer. Or is it Visters? I don't know, one of the two. But they've successfully reached the summits of all the world's 14 8,000-meter peaks without supplemental oxygen. An 18-year project he christened Endeavor 8000. Visters was born in 1959 and he now lives on Bainbridge Island, Washington, with his wife of 10 years, Paula, and their 3 children, Gil 8, Ella 6, and Annabelle 2. Well, now I think those kids are much older than that. Okay, yeah, you can pause if you want to read the full backstory of him. It is pretty interesting that they, got a real, mountaineer to be part of this game. Pretty unique. Welcome to Everest, traveler. Explore each area by finding all the items on the list below. If you get stuck, use the hint button. Yeah, and now it's your standard hidden object fare, but right here we'll get to my main complaint with this game. There's no sound effects for collecting items. I have no idea what happened, and I think it's an issue with the digital version of the game, because I've seen YouTube videos of people doing this game, and they have sound effects for collecting the gems and for finding the items. But no matter what I tried on any of the computers, there's no sound effects. So I don't know what's up with that. I don't know how they could screw something like that up. But they did somehow. Maybe if I had like a Windows XP computer, maybe the sound effects only work on that. Because I tried it on an old unupdated Windows 7, but it still didn't work. This is a pretty big step up graphics wise compared to Titanic, because now there's a lot more animations of this sort, not just overlay of fish going through, but here there's like snow blowing off of the mountain, and in a bunch of other scenes there's also appearances. There's also animations. Oh, that's a lime wedge, though it looks more like an orange slice. They love having really small gems in this game. And the gems, if you collect 5 of them, you get an extra hint. So that's one really nice improvement this game has over Titanic, where the gems were just pointless collectibles in that game. Here, at least they've changed it so they're actually worth collecting. And this is just an introductory level, but in the main game they'll have you actually quote-unquote racing against the other teams. And I'm not as familiar with this game as I am with Amazon and Titanic, so I will be allowing myself to get hints, but I'm gonna still try and limit it to only 1 hint per location. But something cool, as you can see there, is you can choose what item you want to get a hint for. You don't need to just rely on luck to get what you want. And now this game actually came before Madame Fate, but this one uses character scenes with multiple items to find, very similar to that game. It's kind of interesting to see Big Fish Studios' evolution of their design. Oh, there's a sound effect when you get all of the items that require multiples, but not for normal items. Weird. That's weird. Like, why would that sound effect still work but all the other ones be bugged? I don't know. Oh. Well, that's a very good spot for hiding
I'm
it.
Ed Beasters, expert mountaineer. Over my years of climbing, I've become a bit of a mountaintop gourmet. Making delicious meals from melted snow and crumbled rocks has become second nature to me. I understand you're in a hurry to get started, but you can't head up Everest this season. Not only is a storm brewing, but it's Yeti season, and when those suckers get hungry, you don't want to be anywhere near them. There was a crazy-eyed fella who came through here last week talking about a shortcut to the top, but as you know, I think that's completely ridiculous. If it's true though, you better get a move on because there are 3 other teams tracking him down. Last week I heard he was headed for South America. Call me if you get lost, and remember, if you're ever up on the mountain and it's getting mighty chilly, come and see what Ed's got cooking on the skilly.
Wow, what a clever rhyme there. I wonder if, like, the Yeti part was something they wanted to add to the game, or if Ed just improv that when he was doing his lines.
To view real-life mountain footage, click the photo album on the main menu.
An odd explorer claims to know a way up Everest. We must find him before those other adventurers do. And in the main menu, we've unlocked the first of the 12 photo albums / video
Kathmandu
album.
in Nepal is the closest major city to Everest, and most expeditions start there. After one of my successful Everest expeditions, we celebrated back in Kathmandu. The Sherpa lit 20,000 butter lamps at a temple, all by hand. Nothing compares to the view from a mountain like Everest, but you don't have to climb a mountain to see amazing landscapes and people.
Yeah, this feels like vacation slides that Ed took and we're just getting presented them. Though there are some that are videos instead of photos. And now, this is very similar to the Titanic in that at first there's 2 locations to visit, and that's it per level. There's just 2. And then later on they'll get to be 3. Feet and fingers are hard to keep warm. Sometimes you must choose to go back or accept losing them. Well, if you're so frostbitten you're gonna lose your fingers if you go ahead, chances are you aren't gonna survive to make it to the top anyway. The race is on. The markers on the bottom of the screen show each team's progress. Your team is the white marker. Don't finish in last place. Yeah, and now something else in this game is what is known as like secret items, which are items in these locations that there's your hint is this silhouettes of all of them, which you can only see at the end of the game and after collecting one, but you're just expected to randomly click and find items like that for some reason. I don't know, it's not conveyed very well, and I don't even think you get much of any reward for actually collecting them all, but I'll be pointing them out. I don't have them memorized. I have a guide on my phone. And now, the time limit in this game isn't as, like, defined. It's not like a timer ticking down. It's the people below you from the other teams, and they'll eventually slowly move forward, and when they reach the right, they've, like, beaten you. And every time you find items, you move forward some on the racetrack, I guess you'd call it. Which, that's a very interesting way to do a timer. And I really like this scene with the waterfall and the birds going. I think it looks really nice. Hey, that's a flower from the Amazing Larry's hat there. But from what I remember, this game is a lot bigger than Titanic was. In terms of levels, anyway. And I think in terms of the diversity of locations you visit, too. I think it's still like you only visit locations 2 or 3 times over the course of the game. But in this game, the levels are divided into zones, so this zone is South America. And then there's a Europe zone, I think, and I think there's like an Asian zone, and then there's an Everest zone. And I think those are the 4 zones in this game. There isn't even any background music playing in this. Okay, now that I move the music volume slider, is some. If I move the sound effects, can it actually have sound effects for the items you find? Nope. Oh well. The youngest road's super narrow 2-way lane is known as the Road of Death in La Paz. Oh, and here there's a proper timer. But I don't think that's to the nearest team. I think that's to the slowest team finishes, which then you lose. And now the Witch's Market, this top hat is the super secret item. It's kind of dumb that the racers keep on going even as you're finding the secret items and it pops up. So if you want to try and study the book and memorize their locations, you can't, because the other teams will beat you then. I like the sky scrolling in this scene. Though for a witch's market, you'd think there'd be some sort of weirder stuff. Like there's a mask there, that's pretty weird. And there's a bunch of stuff, like dead birds or something. But then there's just a bunch of baskets. Like, that ain't scary. I like the ambient noise, though, in this scene. Oh, and if you click too often, your punishment is that the other teams will move up the track a lot farther for a few seconds. And then the hourglass just stops them from moving for a few seconds. And the hourglass sound effects do work. Just weird. God, it's especially noticeable not having sound effects in this scene where you're finding a bunch of items. But now, here the sky isn't scrolling. That's weird. Could they not handle having so many shells on screen at the same time as having the sky scrolling? I don't know. An intricate carving. It shows Chichen Itza. Chichen Itza. I don't know if that's right. But yeah, and now, like, your overall time is what matters. And it's kind of random. Like, who's the second place finisher, who's the third, who's the fourth. And it will alternate your opponent's positions over the course of the game. But I don't get how it's fair that the gamers get 3 people to their team. The Scholars and Scarlet Hats have 2 people, but you only get yourself as your team. Pretty weird, but anyway, that'll do it for this first part, so like and subscribe if you want. I'll see you next time.